RB, is there a success story from Stage 32 that you're really proud of and actually get a little emotional over?
There's a few that I get very emotional over. One of them, we've had a lot of sort of single success stories, and what I mean by that is, and we have them every day, really. A screenwriter who was in his mid-50s, who had flown close to the sun over a 30-year, I don't want to call it a career because he didn't have one really, but a 30-year attempt at a career. Had a couple of things get optioned, a few things get sold that were never made, and finally got to a point where he was ready to give up the ghost, and he decided to pitch through the Stage 32 Happy Writers one more time to a manager at Bender Spink, because he really, really believed in this one script. Excuse me, and the long story short of it is that within a week, he had been flown to LA for a meeting. This manager, Daniel Vang at Bender Spink, had read 2 more pieces of his work, and one of them was a television pilot that he had written years ago. And Daniel said to him, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to write features or do you want to be in TV? And he said, well, 25 years ago, I wanted to be in a writer's room. That was my dream. And he said, well, why don't you want that now? And he said, well, because I'm 55 years old. And he said, I don't care. He said, go home and pack your bags. And within a week, he had him on Blacklist on ABC. So that was a really, really cool story. On a much bigger scale, we have a filmmaker. His name's David Roundtree. He is just a great guy, and also a guy that uses social media all the time to vet people and to, look for talent. He had 2 films in theaters over the last 6 months. One was called 108 Stitches, and another one was called Cut. Cut just premiered on Hollywood Boulevard a couple of weeks ago, sold out the whole week. It was the first film that Stage 32 exclusively distributed online, so we were really proud of that. And he used, for 108 Stitches, he used 22 Stage 32 members, and for Cut, he used 34. And the cool thing is that some of the people that he found on Stage 32 were incredibly accomplished. His sound editor has worked on 170 studio films, including all the Pirates of the Caribbean movies and so on and so forth. She was his sound editor. He found her on Stage 32. She was the sound editor on both movies. These stories, we hear them all the time. We just had a composer in Florida who's scoring a movie for a guy in India. One of the very first success stories we had was a composer story as well. It was a filmmaker in LA who had exhausted all his contacts in LA. They just weren't getting his film. It was this dark noir kind of film. And he basically put together a couple of clips and put it out onto the Stage 32 Lounge and said, I'm at wit's end. I'm willing to have people, the next 10 people that contact me are gonna have a shot at scoring these scenes, okay? And he ended up hiring a composer from Denmark. Just kept sending the files over to they got onto chat, they talked, they video conferenced, and this guy got to score his first Hollywood movie.
So that gentleman, David, had a profile on Stage 32,
yes.
And so he would put that he's a director, composer, what he chose.
He was a director,
He was a director, okay.
Yeah, and he co-wrote one of the 2 movies. He co-wrote Cut as well, yeah.
And so when you said post on the Stage 32 Lounge, and we did create an account, so I did see kind of how it works a little bit and karma points and all that. We'll go into that later. But so he then put out a call to action, or how does that work if I want to put out a call?
There's 2 different ways. We have a jobs section, and in the jobs section you could put up your project and your needs, your cast and crew needs, okay? He went in there and he said, I'm looking for the following actors, these types. Okay. I'm looking for, I think he had his cinematographer from the first film, but I'm looking for this crew, people to fill these roles. And then other Stage 32 members can go in there and apply for those roles. And again, this is why it's very, very important that you have a completed profile at this point, because now David will go and look at your resume, through the site, your clips, everything. And then he can contact you and say, either let's talk about it, or I don't feel like you're right for it, or whatever. That's pretty much how he did it with both movies. And that's how a lot of people on the site do it. We have hundreds of jobs posted every day, and hundreds of projects that are live and active at any given moment.
And it's free, right? For the
Completely
poster
free.
and the
Completely free.
inquiry person. Okay.
Yeah.